And then I guess I just saw too the Lakers are potentially trying to get Nick Nurse or looking at him.
Come on.
But it's like
Never. No, they're gonna get Dom. They're gonna get Dom.
they're just they just want like anybody right now.
And no one wants to go. But that's the thing too. Like, and you know I like always bash on the Lakers and stuff. That's my job.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing too. Like Frank Vogt, like the Lakers organization announced that they were letting go of Frank to the media, and they didn't even tell Frank. Like
they didn't even tell Frank. Yeah, I saw that interview. That's
like not classy move.
That's so shit. Like in anything.
Like an
I saw somebody say how seeing that the way Frank was let go, just shows that Frank wasn't the issue.
Yeah,
and I totally agree with that. It's just a weirdo show going on with the Lakers, and just the way they handled that, saying to Woj that in a few days they're gonna let him know.
Yeah. Even like
how's that?
And like Magic too, man. Like he left the organization. Like there was something that he didn't like. I don't know if he left this year or the year prior, but there's something that he didn't like that happened. That he was like, I'm just gonna part ways and whatnot. And he's going on a little press tour, like bashing a lot of stuff that's going on there. And I don't know, man. I think a lot, like I've said, like I think a lot of people have their hand in the pot. There's a lot of blame to go around, but stuff like that, just this disrespect in the organization to players, to legends, to coaches, that all starts at the top. You know what I mean? So whether it's Pelinka, whether it's Jeannie Buss, whether it's Kurt Rambis getting hammered on the sidelines, I don't know, but there's someone in there that's adding a bit too much sriracha sauce to the stew. With that, welcome to the Lob It Up Podcast. Bit of a different scene for me. We'll maybe get into that. I don't know. But how are you boys doing? How was your day? How was your week? Are you excited for this episode? Because we're going to be talking about the play-in, but then we're also going to be talking about the first round, playoff predictions, giving our predictions, seeing how we fare, seeing how we do. So first off, let me ask Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'm not too bad, man. Not too bad. Just coming off a busy weekend, all of that. So just trying to enjoy like my sleep and just catching up before this like week starts and into another busy week. But totally forgot it's Good Friday, so hopefully everybody's made plans for this nice long weekend.
Shout out. Some chocolate.
Is it a 4-day weekend or a 3-day weekend?
3-day.
Yeah, I think you get the Monday off, right? I know Tarek, my roommate. He works for the government, but he gets both. Mm-hmm. He gets Good Friday and
Easter Monday. So pending.
Shout out government.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I know. See, Bash, what about yourself, man? How you doing? You're working on a couple hours of sleep, eh? A couple hours of sleep and a couple.
I was just gonna say, off like 4 hours of sleep, 2 iced coffees in my blood right now. I'm gonna inject some more in a few hours. Yep. Just so keep the energy going. Hopefully, I don't fall asleep during the episode. If I do, it's not that you guys are boring me. It's just that I'm just going off a low energy. Yeah. But I'm doing good. I'm excited. Not really after what happened last night, but we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get.
I'm fake excited until it gets to my team.
We're definitely gonna get into it, and I know you guys on the screen that we're recording on right now, you can't see it, but for the viewers that are watching, be able to see it. I tried to incorporate jerseys that are hanging on my wall of playoff teams or potential playoff teams. So I've got 2 from the West and I got 2 from the East. I got the Phoenix Suns up here, retro Charles Barkley jersey, Kawhi Leonard Clippers jersey, a Dwayne Wade, Miami Vice jersey, and in that corner way over there is, of course, a Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls jersey. So try to add a little bit of playoff, action and whatnot into the episode. But before we get into the play-in and the playoff predictions, let's get into the takes of the week. I know, Siavash, I don't know if this is your take, but I know we were talking about something off the top before we started recording. So I'll let you get started with your take of the week. And if it's not your take of the week, we'll talk about it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
The most random Twitter, or not random Twitter beef, the most random NBA beef between Campazzo and...
Oh, yeah, no. I think we've seen more random stuff going on, but... no, my take of the week actually goes to yesterday, the last day of the season, and I really think the way the NBA has set it up, the last day of the season is coming out to be one of the worst days of the season.
Yeah.
I think most of the players were not playing last night. Shout out to Drew Holiday. He just came into the game, quick foul, got $305,000 for his hitting that benchmark of his contract and getting the bag. I think the same thing with CJ McCollum.
Yo, shout out to CJ for just going on Twitter and being like, yo, don't put me in your bets, don't put me in your parlays tonight. I'm gonna start the game like for a quick minute and then be off. So me as an avid sports bettor who actually likes to, put CJ in my parlays, I appreciated that. So he's definitely a go for that one. Save me some money, bro. I would have lost it.
Did you see was it a clip from last night or was it a few days ago where the Sixers fan is on the sideline and the Sixers are up against the Pacers and he's like, the money line's 14 points and the Pacers come down and hit a three and the guy goes, fuck!
I didn't see that, but I feel his pain.
Bro,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, to be in the game in that moment, you're just looking at the score. You're like, I need this to stay. Please don't get a bucket.
It worked.
That would be intense.
It worked out for me last.
Whipping his phone.
Yeah. Literally, there would be a hole in my wall, and it'd be an iPhone-sized hole. But that almost happened to me last night. I had a nice little $5 to $75 parlay, and one of the legs was the Dallas Mavericks to win on the spread by 7.5. And at the halftime, around half-point mark, Luka injured. He clashed knees with another player, and I think it's just a calf strain. He should be fine for the playoffs. But they took him out, and I was like, oh my god! Like they were beating the Spurs by like 15, 20 points, and the Spurs came back. It was really close. I ended up, that they beat the Spurs by 10, so I got my money. But I was very concerned. Boban went off for me though. That's nice. Yeah.
Boban went off.
He was like flashing like some like retro no look passes. Like they were double teaming him. I was like, oh, Boban, let's go, man. Yeah. Boban's funny. He's one of those players in the league that you can't hate. Like, you know what I mean? There's some players like everyone hates or most people hate, and there's some players that everyone loves. All right,
Shout out to Boban.
So let's get into the take of the week. I know I just basically went on that Tobe monologue that we always talk about, but Sivash, go ahead and give us your take of the week.
Yeah, no. So that was my take of the week. Is the last day of the season has turned out to be the worst day of the season.
Yeah,
I just think with everybody kind of picking and choosing who they want to play and being able to, get everybody sit down, it just became a terrible day in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with this season, it was kind of weird because I think almost everybody was kind of set in place with the position they were going to be. The Bulls, they were going to be the 6th seed. The Raptors were going to be the 5th seed. It was just kind of like set in place so that games did not matter, especially with the play-in. The Lakers, even though they won, it didn't matter. So it just felt like a kind of pointless day in the NBA. And that's where I think the NBA got to figure something out with like the end of the season tournament, with something to make it meaningful for these teams to play even to the last game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, we saw it too with the standings, but we also saw it kind of with the scoring title, right? It came down to, obviously, LeBron just missed the minimum games by 2, but it came down to Giannis and Joel. And Joel and James Harden were slated to play that last Philadelphia game yesterday, but then when Milwaukee announced that Giannis and the rest of the starters, minus Drew Holiday for that first jump, but when they announced that Giannis was out, Joel was like, okay, that means like I've officially won the scoring title. I don't need to play. And then they announced that James and Joel sat. So I was like, that's so crappy, man. Like I was really excited. I told you guys, like, these two matchups, like Philly and Boston matchups, are massive for teams in the East. Your teams especially, it really is going to determine who plays who in the first round. So go ahead, Chris. Let us know your thoughts of what Sivash just said about kind of the last couple of games down the stretch, especially that last game, but maybe even a couple of games before. What's your thoughts on that? And
Yeah, I think there needs to be like a little bit more just to kind of like entice these teams to like keep it going all the way through to the last little bit, like those last like few game stretches, because you are getting key players sitting, and I totally understand you want those players to sit because you want them readily available for like the playoffs, and it would suck if, somebody got hurt last game and it's like, wow, now they're out for the first round, aren't coming back, and now your team's gone.
Luka.
But yeah, exactly, right? Could have been worse with Luka. Could have been worse. Like, thank God, like it wasn't. But so, but yeah, with like nothing really to entice these teams to be like, yeah, like let's just keep playing hard. You get all these like weird lineups, like even yesterday the Knicks playing the Raptors, like Obi Toppin dropped like 42. Who's the other guard? He dropped like 36 or something like that.
I know Amir Coffey for the Clippers dropped 35, I think.
Yeah, so you got some of these like young guys like playing like nice and stuff like that, and it's they're just going off now. It kind of sucks because you're getting these whack ass lineups, and I feel like a player like Obi Toppin and like the other guard there, what's it called?
Manuel Quickly.
Yeah, Quickly. I feel like they would have done extremely well if they would have had more playing time throughout like the regular season too.
See, you know what? I don't mind. Like they had decent playing time. A lot of people, some people I've been hearing on Twitter, some people are saying that Obi Toppin might be the number one in New York and not RJ Barrett, but that's a different conversation. It's I would rather see those guys ball out. The Amir Coffey, who's had a bit, he's kind of played a bit this year, but especially the Obi Toppins and Emmanuel Quicklys. I would rather see them play than the fucking like weird players that no one has ever heard of that have been playing for OKC. Like OKC doesn't have a deep roster as it is, and now they're like finding people from Serbia and like there's a guy I don't even know. His name's Krejci. I know a hockey player named Krejci. Why is he now in the NBA? Like it's just so confusing.
It's just weird, man. It's weird, and it doesn't make like basketball like appealing to watch either. At this point,
it's hard to watch OKC games as it is, but yeah, definitely.
That was a thought I was having earlier today, where I was like, man, where is OKC going?
I don't know.
At some point, they got to look at the timeline where they got SGA for, I think he's around 23, 24 years old, and he's already got a max contract. They got Giddey, they got all these other guys, and they got all these draft picks. At some point, they got to cash out and just try to go for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what this timeline is going to look like for them. They were definitely a contender for Sabonis at the deadline, but after that, I'm not sure what's going on with them.
And like you said, does it fit their timeline? Like, does it work for them? And like, again, as a Clippers fan, we gave them a lot of picks, but like, if you don't do anything with those picks, like if those are just, again, a bunch of guys you have accumulating, like, it's great to have all this young talent, but if you have a shit ton of young talent at every single position, not all that talent is going to get their minutes, and therefore is likely not going to develop into the great caliber players that they could have. Maybe not with your organization, but with another organization they could.
Yeah, the talent pool in today's league is insane.
Very much so. Chris, your take of the week. What do you got for us, man?
Honestly, I don't have like a crazy like take this week. I haven't had a chance to watch too much basketball over the week. Again, like touching back to C's thing, I'm not really like enticed to watch basketball right now because like nothing's like crazy after all the spots and all the positions have been kind of like locked in. I'm not really turning on basketball too much until we get to the play-in, until we get to the playoff, and the real meat and potatoes comes back. I don't want that broccoli. I don't want those gross side dishes of these nowhere games that don't mean shit. Like you told, I've been actually watching a bit more baseball, and like that's about it. But,
yeah.
So now I'm just kind of reading up on these like
baseball.
Baseball's actually not that bad.
I chirp it because it's very long and very like boring and dry. But like,
at what inning are you turning it off?
By inning 3.5, maybe 4, I'm not turning it off, but I'm like
you're on your phone,
not paying attention. I'm like doing other things.
Away.
I'm putting around. But those like that 7th, 8th inning where it's like, especially if I have bets on it. Oh, big fan, big baseball fan. I'm clapping. I'm like, yeah, let's go 2 out. Let's go one more. Like,
let's go, Jay.
Yeah. No, I'm a Yankees guy. I'm a
Yankees.
Oh, yeah, the Yankees guy. Okay.
Still,
okay.
I know the Jays have been nice. The Jays have actually been.
Oh no, super
very
good.
nice. But this is not the whatever you want to call it. I don't have a good.
The Curve It Up podcast.
I was trying to think of a word, but yeah, it's not the Curve It Up podcast. It's the Lob It Up podcast. So we'll get back to basketball. And with my take, I'm putting my stake in the ground. I had the conversation with you, Sivash, a couple times. It was so difficult for me to pick the MVP. You know, we did the awards last week. It was so difficult for me because there's just been 3 great guys all year. Some people want to throw a bone to Devin Booker, blah, blah, blah. Some people want to talk about Ja, blah, blah, blah. Giannis, Joel, and Jokic, far and away, 3 best players, 3 deserving candidates. Joel, for me, kind of slipped off, the past couple weeks. I don't like Joel, how he's played with James Harden as much as I liked him before James Harden. I really like Joel kind of shining on his own. Giannis is great. Giannis is the best player, and this is where I was talking to you, Sivash. There's a lot of confusion, myself included, where it's like the MVP, the most valuable player, doesn't always mean the best player in the league, right? It's like if you took that player off the team, where would they be? And I came into the last podcast, that was Giannis, and you had said something that swayed me. You're like, yeah, but if their team was in the East, then they're only like 1 win behind. And if you took Jokic off the Nuggets, are they even a play-in team? You know what I mean? Like, they got Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Monte Morris. Like, we're talking some
talent.
Fine players. Some fine players. But fine is not good and good is not great. But, man, I got to go with Jokic. I mean, I'm going to still give Giannis DPOY. I'm going to get, obviously, Joel earned himself the scoring title. So they all get something. They all get an award. But Jokic has got to get the MVP. And, I just think what he did, especially, being the first player to ever get 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a season. The league's been around for 75 years. No one's ever done that. He can arguably go down as, I don't want to say the greatest big man of all time, because I think there's big men that have been a greater defender than him, but easily, far and away, he can go down as the greatest offensive big of all time. So I got to give Jokic, that's my take. I'm putting my stamp down. Jokic is the MVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back to 2 things. First, we've been giving a lot of slack to one of the best players, one of the best point guards we've seen, Russell Westbrook, in the past few episodes. One stat I saw was in 2017, he was very close to breaking that stat.
Oh, really?
By having 2,000 points, 800 rebounds, and 800 assists. So he was very close to that, but of course he was unable to break it. And I think that's a shout out, at least, as the guy that went closest to that. The second point is Giannis for DPOY. Last night I sent you guys a pick of a comparison of Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and how Anthony Davis has played 20 games less than Giannis and has 1 less block. To me, look, if you're going to be a big guy who's going to be a defensive player of the year, you got to at least show something. You got to show some protection. You got to show something that is showing us that, hey, you're making a difference. You're not guarding everybody. You're the guy that's, hey, I'm going to guard the non-shooter. I'm going to step up whenever somebody drives. And that's that. I'm not saying, hey, Anthony Davis should be defensive player of the year. All I'm saying is that gives a little bit of perspective of where Giannis is sitting in his DPOY case.
For sure.
Okay.
I do have a question, though. Chris, what would you say to win an award, right? Whether it's 6-man, rookie, let's use DPOY because we're talking about, Anthony Davis, we're talking about, the blocks and stuff. What would you say is the minimum amount of games you need to play in your opinion, to qualify for an award like DPOY?
I would say at least 51% of the season.
51% of the season. How many games
51%.
How many games did Anthony Davis play?
40.
So that's not 51%.
So that's below the 51.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know
I will
why?
say
Do you want to know why?
One more game than half.
Yeah. Do you want to know why I bring this up? Because we're going to talk about, we're going to reflect and we're going to give the people that deserve it their flowers. But we're talking about the bets and stuff. And I was watching some videos back on the podcast, And me and Mr. Gorbani made a little bet on who was going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. I took my guy, Bam. I don't think he's going to get it. And you took Anthony Davis. That's why I asked, because I disqualify that bet. That's not fair based on injuries. I don't even know how many games Bam played. Bam was injured for a bit. But I just wanted to bring that up in general. What about you, Sivash? Do you agree with the 51%? You have to at least play it just a smidge over, half the games.
I'm going to go more. And
Wow.
I think the line at 55 games, I think, is a good kind of stop. Because when you look at it, you can't miss more than 25% of the games and be the most valuable in something. I think the best ability is availability.
Bingo. And that's why
as long as you're there and you're able to affect the game. And Bam, Bam has a great case for Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Yeah.
And I think he has played just around 55. And the biggest thing that's stopping him to be in the conversation right now is the fact that he's missed some games. So when we think about all of that, right now, of course, if we had to pick one, Bam would definitely get it. But I think at the time, listen, man, I did not see AD doing all that. So
yeah.
I was definitely confident in my bet back then. I did not think Bam was going to have that defensive league, but I think it's gone two opposite direction of what I was thinking.
I feel you. Speaking of bets, let's get to it. This guy's going to be so fucking bricked up. I can already just smell it. Like, it's disgusting. So we'll start with the first bet that I have, the live bets. Chris, the Raptors make the playoffs. Siavash and myself, so the Raptors do not. That was a $20 bet.
Yep.
So
yep.
I'm gonna put an animation of -10 over my head.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Just give us a quick, synopsis. We talked about it. You had them at 11, but you thought that they might be able to sneak in that 8 and 10 spot. Now they went ahead and they secured a spot, and I think they secured a spot over the red-hot early Chicago Bulls.
They did.
Don't say I think. Like, you say I think like this just happened last night. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Sivash has been very negative about his team lately. I've been asking because I'm like, should I bet on this squad? And he's like, yo, fuck that team. I don't trust them. I'm like, fair, bro. Like, I understand. But, give us a quick breakdown. Do your little victory lap on this, man.
I'm a humble guy, brother, so I'm not out here. I'm not going to be gloating. I'm not going to be,
It's a comedian. This man's a comedian.
waving the flags. It is what it is, You guys can just give me the money in silence. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Yes, I had faith in my squad, like I told Siavash in previous episodes. You gotta have faith in your squads, right down to the nitty gritty. You can't just give up on them. And see what could happen.
Yeah.
I ain't give up.
Moving.
We're at the top.
Well, you're not at the top. No, you're not at the top.
Climbed over the corpse of a dead bull.
Hey, bro, take the microphone away from him. He's going up.
Yeah, no, we gave him this
script.
new clear microphone. He thinks he can start, spitting this super hot fire.
Wait.
Yeah.
George Bush hates black people.
Yeah.
Take it.
Okay, moving on to the next bet, and this is again, Chris is coming away with the W in this one. And, I'll be honest, if it weren't for the injuries that the Nuggets had all year, but more specifically the imploding team in the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks would not have landed in a top 4 seed. However, injuries happen, shit chemistry happens, that's all a part of the game, you can't blame that on the game. Chris said that the Mavericks would be a top 4 seed, I projected that they would be a 5 to 8 seed.
I did.
Go ahead and give you another victory lap.
Humble guy.
Yeah.
Humble guy right there.
See, if you could do me a favor when editing this, just edit me in a snap noise, because I can't do this, but this is for my boy Topes. The old hockey snap. Obviously, I can't do the noise, so just give me a little snap in there for me.
I'm gonna replace
That's my celly right there.
And so just tell me what your confidence was, because again, the Mavs didn't start that way. They weren't hot all year. They weren't an elite team all year, but they really turned it on, after, I would say honestly, probably December they started turning on, but really were a very, very hot team after the trade deadline.
And you should say, you mentioned that there was injuries with other teams. They also dealt with some injuries with Luka.
That's true.
Of course, with his ankle and knees, and also his belly and being overweight. They also dealt with some.
And see, the thing is, people say I body shame. People say I'm fat shaming.
I know. I'm not
here. This body shame every episode. I just said it one time.
Who made the hookah Doncic? That wasn't me, bro. That wasn't me.
That was the internet. I just like the name Hookah Doncic. That's sick.
Doncic is fun.
But tell us where your confidence came with the Mavs, especially after seeing in the past. I guess it's regular season regular season versus playoffs, but knowing that there was issues with Rick Carlisle, they got him out. That's a new coach in there. Chris has Porzingis. Tell us what your confidence level, how you were so confident in the Mavs getting that top 4 seed.
Honestly, man, it just basically boiled down to just kind of like watching them play like season before and stuff, and Luka's performance and whatnot, and then Porzingis was kind of like here and there, so I had hope that Porzingis would show us flashes of Porzingis of old, and he would just kind of turn it on and just really start meshing well with like Luka. And then you get those other like key players just coming in there and just kind of helping too as well. But honestly, man, I wish I could tell you there were stats. I had pie charts, I had forwards, I was calculated. I was that meme with you just see all the math equation, brother. It was literally just dumb luck. I just wanted to bet against you. That was it. I went with the gut, and the gut told me believe in the hookah. And
you fared well. You came away with $25 in the live bets this season. I'm sure we can, the play-ins coming, the playoffs coming, we can definitely sprinkle in some more bets for the postseason. One more bet, and Chris, it doesn't involve you. It's between Siavash and myself. I
was hoping you will forget this.
No, because I lost. I needed to win one. Siavash was not a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they did go on a skid. They lost Jared Allen, and they did go on a big skid. They were a pretty hot team early on. We all didn't think that they were going to stay up there. They kind of came back down to earth. But Steve said that the Cavs will miss the playoffs or the play-in, and I was very confident that they make the tournament.
Now wait. What were the boundaries on this bet?
Review it, because
in the play-in.
Review it, because I went back and I checked. It said playoffs, play-in.
Watch the film, coach.
Playoffs, play-in. We can pull it back up.
The bet is done?
I'm confident. Yeah, $5.
Okay.
So
at
the end of the day, Siavash needs to make a $15 payment, and Siavash needs to make a $15 payment. I also need to make a $15 payment, but I receive $5. Chris really just
I'm the only one that's just
floor
losing money.
See, this is Siavash. This is where we need to take our money back. We don't care about the regular season, right? We're like AI in the press conference. We're talking about playoffs here. Let's raise the stakes. We're talking playoffs. $50 minimums. Let's go.
Let's go.
This is where we gotta bet it back. We gotta run a double or nothing.
This is where it gets into degenerate gambling. This is where it's like, okay, I know I can win. I need to put $500 on red. I'll get my money back. I swear. Put the mortgage on it.
No, man. It's like I'm not going to my bank to send you $5. Like we gotta make it something serious, or it's not worth it.
That's facts.
Yeah, I think like an e-transfer fee is like $1.50.
Yeah, it'll just be a drink. $5 is a drink. $5 is a drink. Okay, so those are the bets all wrapped up. Like I said, we'll get into some probably postseason bets as they come. But let's talk about the postseason. Let's talk about the play-in. I don't know if anybody has the schedule pulled up. I'll pull it up right now from my own records. But the play-in starts on Tuesday, which I believe this episode will probably be going out on Tuesday or Wednesday.
It'll be today when you're listening to this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But here we go. We've got. You want to start in the West or in the East?
I say we just go by the West.
By the West? Okay. So the 7-8 matchup. Interesting matchup. The Minnesota Timberwolves, which again, I think we had faith in them as potential. They had the potential to do it. Good to see that they actually made it. But the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the LA Clippers. The winner will go on to play the second seed, the Memphis Grizzlies. The loser will go to the next match, who will play the winner of the 9-10 game. So, Chris, I asked Siavash for his take of the week first. I'm going to let you kick it off. Give us your breakdown. Give us your prediction on the 7-8 seed Minnesota Timberwolves versus the LA Clippers. in the play-in tournament.
The Minnesota Timberwolves will beat the Los Angeles Clippers.
See, look at that. He spent so much time on Pat Bev's Instagram. He's a huge fan of him now. Either way, I was coming into it. I was winning on this one. But go ahead.
Pat Bev's revenge game.
Yeah, go ahead. It's a really interesting. The reason I say it's really interesting is Pat Bev knows this organization and he knows his team.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't really been a lot of change. Sure, a few role players, key players, and the Clippers not so much on a competitive level, but Paul George and Karl-Anthony Towns. I didn't know this. They're really great friends. So there's a lot of recognition between the two organizations. But let us know, like, why do you have Minnesota going on to face the Memphis Grizzlies?
Honestly, man, I just think we're just gonna see like a sneaky little upset. Like, because yes, we had Paul George coming back, returning. A couple other players. Kawhi's still not set to come back at all, right?
See if you talk about it. See if Ash knows more than I do.
Yeah, because I also see like posting like there's rumors here and there, but yes, love me some PG, but I don't think the man's gonna be able to do it alone. It's been a long season for these guys, and
but PG hasn't been
Timberwolves
playing.
have just been on a roll.
PG hasn't been playing that long season. But
So, well, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think we're gonna see some sneaky shit. I think we're gonna see Karl-Anthony Towns. Not gonna drop another 50 piece, but he's probably gonna go off.
okay, so you have Minnesota ending up to play the Memphis Grizzlies and the Clippers to play in that next matchup against the winner of the winner of the 9-10 seed. Steve Ash, do you agree with Chris here, or do you have a different opinion?
I'm going to disagree with Chris.
Interesting.
And
okay.
the reason for that, I'm not sure if it's my dislike of the Timberwolves or if it's like, my interest in the Clippers.
He has thrown some shade on the Timberwolves this season. Like, anytime Chris slightly just mentions it's a big three, Steve Ash is quick to be like, that's a medium three. Let's be real. That's a medium three.
A schmedium.
Yeah.
He wants to say small.
Yeah.
But he calls it schmedium.
But go ahead. Why the hesitation around the Timberwolves?
I don't believe in them. They're a young team. Their only backbone and maybe some push in the playoffs is Pat Bev. Karl Towns has only been in the playoffs one time with Jimmy Butler, and I think he was a ghost in that series, but he was a young guy, so hopefully we can see the improvements in the future. But I got this weird faith in the Clippers, man. They're in for these moments.
They're experienced.
They're built for this. Yeah, and like last night, they had a 50-point win against the Thunder.
Against
of
a
course.
bunch of nobodies. That doesn't count.
Of course.
They also had a bunch of nobodies.
That's nobodies.
They also
That's
had a bunch
nobodies.
of
That's
nobodies.
milkmen.
Amir Coffey dropped 35 points. Have you ever, besides me or what you're doing in the morning, pouring your coffee, have you ever heard of Amir Coffey?
No.
Exactly.
I don't even know who the guy is.
Exactly.
No, but the other thing is, Chris, I think 2 games ago, they also, I think, had like a really good 3-point shooting night. And like, it's just they're kind of ramping up to this point where I think they got that same kind of like energy they had during the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. I think if I'm, again, I'm just going with my gut in this situation. Again, maybe there's that little bit of dislike for the Timberwolves, but I think I got the Clippers in this situation. And it's one game.
Yeah. I'm very back and forth with this, to be completely honest with you. Because, like you mentioned, Karl-Anthony Towns, like the Timberwolves have something that the Clippers don't, which is an elite big man. However, Zubac and Hartenstein have done a very good job this year defending some of the league's elite big men. You also mentioned their 3-point shooting a couple of games ago. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the league this year. Like, I shouldn't say by a mile, but I know that they're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. And this isn't just coming off the backs of Reggie Jackson or Paul George, Norm Powell. This is coming off, a record-setting Robert Covington, Amir Coffey. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, a lot of their depth. Luke Kennard, the guy that was in the 3-point shooting contest. You know what I mean? A lot of these depth guys are hoopers, are bucket getters. But again, I just, when I try to evaluate a playoff series, I always try to go to who's the best 5 players on the court. That's not the be-all, end-all. because again, I think depth really matters more than anything. But the best 5 players on the court, I would probably say Karl Anthony Towns is number 1, just because he's played more games than Paul George this year. Paul George is an elite player. Paul George would be number 2. Number 3 would probably be... Would it be Ant or would it be D'Lo? You know what I mean?
I'd say maybe D'Lo. Just he's got a little bit more experience under his belt.
And that I think they win. I think Ant, D'Lo, and Cat, and then probably Norman and PG are probably the 2 representatives for the Clippers. The success of the Clippers will live with Reggie Jackson. The success or failure will live with Reggie Jackson. If he's going, like, it's perfect. They're going. If he's not, if he's cold, it means that those other guys got to step up. Now, they've shown that they can do that. Again, even saying this, I'm still unsure about it. I'm going to ride with Siavash, though. I'm going to say experience wins in this. I'm going to say, as great as that Timberwolves coach has been, I forget what his name is. He's been great this year. I think they just signed him to a contract, so, obviously well-deserved.
Finch, I think, is his name.
Yeah. I'm just going to go with, Ty Lue's system, Ty Lue's, schematics. But, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Timberwolves came away with a win. I also selfishly want the Timberwolves to get that 8th spot because I think a matchup of DeAndre Ayton and Karl Anthony Towns would be pretty sick to watch. So selfishly, I want to see that as a 7-game series. So I'll take the Clippers in that first game. Okay. Now moving on to the second matchup in the West, New Orleans Pelicans versus the San Antonio Spurs. Siavash, I'll let you start this time. We got a young coach, Willie Green. I just learned this last night watching their game. He was a part of the Steve Kerr system when they won a couple championships back in the day versus, one of the greatest, probably the greatest NBA, let's say one of, because that's pretty blasphemous to just call him the greatest, but one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen in the NBA, Greg Popovich. What are you thinking in this?
I think this one's a bit of an easier pick for me. It's the Pelicans for me. It's interesting, man. The Spurs traded away one of their best guys in Derek White, and they became better.
And even talk about DeMar. Like, DeMar left, right? So, or I guess you got stuff for him, but like they got stuff for him. But still, that's a big piece. That's your number one piece. Out the door.
Yeah, but it's interesting for me that the way the Pelicans have been playing, CJ just has been sparking it up. It's a great conversation going on with how CJ was underrated during the season, but now he's looking good. I got the Pelicans in that situation. Even though Pop's a great coach, maybe he can outsmart the system, but I think talent in this situation will win it.
Yeah, and you speak about sparking it up. They also got a former Duke Blue Devil, Brandon Ingram there, who I swear to God plays every game just ripped out of his mind. He's definitely stoned. I saw this graphic. It was it was on TikTok, but it was the graphic of Jaylen Brown, Pascal, Bam, and BI, and it was one's got to go. And so this guy broke it down. He ended up choosing Jaylen Brown to be out, but the first guy he talked about was BI, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? This guy shows up to every single game, absolutely smacked, and he drains buckets. I'm taking this guy. He's a hooper. He's playing stoned." So yeah, BI, and then CJ, CJ, and then Valanciunas. I've really liked what he's done this year as well. Man, if Zion comes back next year and he actually wants to play for the Pelicans, they're a very interesting team.
Who was a rookie there? Hubert Jones or something?
Herbert Jones. I've been a big fan of him, man. He's got he's good. He can spray from 3. He's not an elite 3-point shooter, but great on defense as well. So yeah, he's nice. He's nice.
Yeah, a few young pieces, man. They're interesting.
Yeah, and again, Willie Green. They talked about him on the broadcast. Is a very cerebral coach, very similar to Ty Lue or Steve Kerr. Very methodical in what he does. So Willie Green could be one of those elite coaches in the league a couple years down the road. But Chris, do you agree with Siavash and I on the New Orleans Pelicans pick, or he may be going with the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go with the San Antonio Spurs. To quote you, basically 20 seconds ago. Not 20 seconds ago, but, you know, I think experience is going to win this. And I think the experience with Pop is going to play a huge role in this.
Yeah.
And you know what? And it's not to... I don't want to discredit any of the talent that's on the Pelicans. Pelicans loaded with talent. I just don't think this year is their year.
And
I
you know
think
what?
next year they are going to pop off.
Yeah.
Next year.
And you know what I will say, Chris, is like in the last matchup that we talked about, we were talking about. I guess you could talk about the coaches as well. Ty Lue versus again, I forget his name. But we were talking.
Chris Finch.
Sorry, Finch.
Chris
Finch. So Ty Lue versus Chris Finch. You can talk about veteranship versus rookie coach type thing. Who I believe actually used to be in the Raptors organization. He was an assistant coach or an associate coach in the Raptors organization. But regardless, we were talking more about the experience on the court, right, with the players. Yeah. This one is, you're right, it's different, but it's more to do with the guys behind the bench, because I would say, for the most part, the guys that are playing on the floor, none of them have really done anything. DeJounte Murray's the guy, Jakob Poeltl's the guy there, like, what have they done? You know what I mean? Like, B.I.'s the guy. Like, CJ, I guess, would be the most experienced probably in that series because he's played in Portland. But you're definitely looking at the coaches, Willie Green versus San Antonio's Greg Popovich.
Yeah, and again, like you said, like, they may not have, like, the most talented guys on the squad, like, on the floor. But I feel like that experience with the coaching, it can almost cover that gap. It's enough to, like, you know what? This is how we're going to play to cover guys like B.I. And whatnot. Just so that way it's competitive basketball and it's good.
And you know what? I trust the defense as well of San Antonio over New Orleans. New Orleans can definitely shoot, but everything in that system, similar to like kind of how Ty Lue does things, it's very thought out, very structured. I think it'll be an interesting matchup, but I think the talent will win in the end.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, I'll go right back to you here. You have you had Minnesota winning, so they go on to play Memphis. You have Clippers versus the San Antonio Spurs playing for that 8th seed, playing against Phoenix Suns, the best team in the league. Give us your breakdown on that one.
Then if we had the Clippers playing the Spurs, I would sadly say the Spurs would probably lose to the Clippers.
Sadly, look at that. I've been giving love to Toronto lately. We'll talk about the playoffs eventually here on the East side, and this guy is just so fucking happy to try to see my squad lose.
No,
he said unfortunately. You just said unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
but that's, you know what? I don't think it'll be a bad thing because I think the Clippers could, push the Suns, and they could take it.
People say that.
They could take it deep, if not take the series. Whereas I couldn't see the Spurs doing much against the Suns. Really.
No.
So, for me, again, being selfish and wanting to watch like basketball, I want to watch the Clippers and the Suns play, just because I feel like it will be a good series.
I think in general, we didn't record, and it's probably better for the sake of your sanity, both of your sanities. We didn't record the playoffs last year. We talk about loudness. I would have been real loud back then.
Yeah.
As my lights falling down from me having some hot.
This guy would have paint on his face, like, let's go.
Yeah, it was very hype. But I really and like last year, obviously the Raptors didn't make it, the Bulls didn't make it, but I like it. It's good for the podcast. It's good for content, and it's good for us. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you, I don't know how far those three are going to go. But, I mean, just to have those three, I'll say potentially in the playoffs, because the Clippers don't have it yet, but to have those three potentially in the playoffs is definitely exciting for the three of us as well. Sea of Ash. You and I both had New Orleans versus Minnesota. Does your disdain for Minnesota still carry on to this match, or what?
It does, but not in the way you think.
Okay.
I think they are going to beat the Pelicans, but I think that's a good thing because I want them to get beat by the Suns.
Okay.
And see Karl Towns get shut down by Aiden.
See, look at that. He's on a short name basis. He didn't even say Cat. He didn't say Karl Towns. He said Karl Towns. Like, That's how
Carl
much
Town.
disrespect
I
Steve
guess-
Nash is throwing at the Minnesota
That-
Timberwolves.
Little Carly Towns gonna get shut down by
Carly.
DeAndre.
Wow!
But listen,
Damn.
Wow!
Damn,
Listen,
bro.
bro.
Tell him how you really feel, eh? My God.
Nah, man, I'm still hurt from that whole Jimmy Butler situation, but that's okay. We're not gonna
Oh, that's
talk
true.
about
That
That's
Jim
fine.
Butler's your
so
guy.
hurt.
That's true. That's true.
Listen, bro. Once a bull, always a bull, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Minnesota's been such a good team this year. I think, medium three, big three, whatever. The three can dine pack in the McDonald's drive-thru. I don't know what it is, but I think that they're gonna have what it takes to beat New Orleans. Valanciunas versus Cat could be a good matchup, but I'm taking the best shooting big in NBA history. I don't know what that.
And that was Valanciunas at one point. He was leading the league in threes.
When he was on the Raptors?
No, when he was this season.
Oh, really?
This season.
Was he?
Yeah, at one point, Valanciunas was leading the league in three-pointers made. It was stupid.
I actually didn't know. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think.
No, I wasn't even making the Raptors.
I think they
You
just
guys are
have-
so quick to get on me about that shit. I fucking like, bro.
I just.
No, for real though, because he had a good season with the Raptors.
He did.
Like,
But
when
he wasn't.
on the
I
Raptors,
feel like he
was
wasn't
good.
shooting like that though with the Raptors. I feel like he didn't start
That's true.
shooting until like maybe Memphis,
Yeah,
like a little
that's
bit.
true.
You know.
I think that depth to
okay.
just is gonna be the overall factor for Minnesota. I think they're gonna they got a deeper lineup, so I think that they'll be able to tap into that. They have not a lot of players, but I think they have more players that have more playoff experience than that squad. And I think it was Chris that mentioned it off the top. I just think the energy, the engine that is Pat Bev will definitely kind of bring that team to an excitement. As long as Pat Bev doesn't get ahead of himself and push a guy after the game. Like last night, he got ejected. He was doing some shit. So low key, I was kind of like, just get ejected and then miss the next game. Like then it's like it's easier. But okay,
I saw him screaming "you're trash" to the ref, and I didn't know who he was screaming at. And I was like, "Bro, if he's screaming at one of my guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come in here and just trash
Yeah.
Pat Bev for the whole
yeah.
hour."
Okay, so the West is set. Again, we'll go over to the East. We'll do the play-in, and then we'll come back to the playoffs. But the West is set for Seabash and myself. We have Phoenix playing Minnesota and Memphis playing the Clippers. Chris, for yourself, you have Phoenix playing the Clippers and Memphis playing Minnesota. Now to go over the West.
The
East.
The East. You're right. Thank you.
The West.
Again, let's start with that 7-8 spot. The Brooklyn Nets with KD and Kyrie versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kind of interesting. Again, I don't know if Jared Allen's coming back, but you got Karis LeVert, Jared Allen on their new squad, playing against their old squad. Seabash, I know Kyrie is your guy. I'll let you take it away. Give us your breakdown, your prediction for this matchup. Yeah, they were able to hold that 7th seed, so it will be in Brooklyn. Not that it really matters, but that's nice for travel.
Yeah, you sent a text last night asking because the Nets were at the 8th seed, and you were thinking about, hey, how would the coach Steve Nash react in that situation? Would he kind of make a push for his players to try to win it so they can end up at the 7th seed, or would he just let them go? And they did end up winning, and they are now at the 7th seed. The matchup is just the home court advantage in this situation. Look, I just think the Nets are probably a better fitted team for this situation. It's one game. You just got to get a win. The shot creation on the Cavs, I have not been confident in all season. Karis LeVert has been a good addition. I'm not sure how he's going to fit in that situation in the one game. I've seen him ball out in those one games, but it'll be an interesting game. I think the Nets got it. And I think here's what I will say. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nets lose this game without a problem. Like, just easily lose it.
Really?
I think there might be a situation where the Nets might think they're better fitted against the Heat. But I don't know.
Interesting.
That's something because the Nets they got the best half-court offense, whereas the Heat got the worst half-court offense. And they kind of, they just kind of like fit each other where they can cancel each other out on each end. And I think that will be an interesting situation. Whereas with the Celtics, they've been kind of hot, and I think their defense is going to be kind of tough for anybody. So I don't know. I got them winning that game though.
And I did just check quickly. They won't have Jared Allen for Tuesday's game. However, there is a 50-50 chance that if they lose, that he'd be available for the winner of that Atlanta-Charlotte game. So you have the Nets winning?
Yes.
You have the Nets winning. Okay. Chris, Cleveland versus Brooklyn. What do you got?
I also had the Nets winning. Again, I agree with C. Like, it's a one game scenario, and I feel like in this one game, the Nets have what they need just to take it. They got that home court advantage, which really I feel like wouldn't really matter, but the Nets have all the pieces to win this, and if they lose, literally it's just on themselves, or it's an intentional loss at that point. Like he said, just trying to match themselves up with the Heat, and then being confident that they could beat either the Hawks or the Hornets, whoever ends up being there, type of thing. So
yeah, that's interesting. I also heard that they might be looking at Ben Simmons making a return in the playoffs. They're ramping him up. They're trying to see how his back is going to be, but there is a potential that Ben Simmons could come back. And I forget who it was. It was one of the talking heads, but they were saying that that's great for the defense, but there's also a bit of concern about you now putting a team that doesn't really have a lot of shooters, like 3-point shooters, and you're adding another guy that can't shoot the three. It doesn't matter if he's putting out 15-second clips of him shooting three. It's different when it's in game. So what's your thought on the possibility of Ben Simmons coming back, Siavash, and how does that affect the Nets?
Brother, imagine Ben Simmons comes out in the playoffs and starts draining.
That would be fire.
That would be lit.
Yeah, that would be fire.
I feel like he would.
I will cut every clip of me defending Ben Simmons and make a compilation of him every time he makes a three and just add the most epic music and just talk my shit for months after that.
Yeah.
That would be just great.
Yeah. I don't know. I think obviously for their defense, they haven't been the best defensive team. That would be a great addition for sure. But again, getting that shooting, that's definitely a thing. Now I know Stephen A. Smith had said if they do get Ben Simmons back, he's like, you can book the Nets going to the finals. Chris, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Ben Simmons returning? Do you think that does that push the Nets over the top? Can you see them, going? Let's say, can you see them going to the Eastern Conference Finals if Ben Simmons returns?
Oh, honestly, I don't know all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I feel like Ben would be a great addition, like you said. He adds that level of defense that sometimes I feel like the Nets lack in some of their games. And fuck, honestly,
it's a scary team.
It's a super scary team.
I think Chris, it was you and I that were in agreement. Kevin Durant is in our minds one of the greatest scorers of all time. Yeah. So now you add one of the greatest scorers of all time, a 7-foot fucking alien that can shoot from anywhere. Kyrie, arguably one of the craftiest point guards of all time. He can get to his spots. He can get around anybody. You want him as a slasher. You want him as a shooter. He's been shooting from three unbelievably in the games he's played this year. And then you add a guy, and Ben Simmons could be a DPOY candidate. Obviously, if he plays, can guard all 5 positions. Sure, he doesn't have the shooting. That is a very, very scary trio. And then you have those role players. Drummond, who's been nice in his spot. Seth Curry's been nice in his spot. Patty Mills, Cam Thomas. These guys, if they're clicking.
Forgot about Seth.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. If they're clicking, they can make some noise.
Yeah, maybe I take back my comment. I didn't even... Yeah. That's going to be a scary squad. And watch Ben come out and actually start draining a few threes.
That'd be crazy.
That
would be crazy. I mean, for content, I just want to see...
not happen for the sake of this podcast, man.
For content, I just want to see Philly and Brooklyn in an Eastern Conference Finals matchup.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so sick.
And that's another reason why I think they might do that is because of the Bucks. It's if they go against the Heat and they go through the Heat, they would either have to go through the Raptors or the Sixers. And that series will be interesting for me.
Very interesting. We'll get to that Philly Sixers matchup. However, I would be concerned about being on that side of the playoffs because you're gonna play, if you're going to a 7-game series, you're playing more games in Toronto than you're playing in Brooklyn. And obviously Kyrie's still not vaccinated, and Canada's rules are what they are still. So I agree. I think they would like that matchup if it's in a perfect world, but unfortunately, it's not a perfect world. No. I agree though. I see Brooklyn going on. I really like them again. You got Kevin Durant, one of the top 5 players in the league today. Again, I just talked my shit about Kyrie. You're a huge fan of him. You know, you could go off on him, Seabash, but I see Brooklyn winning that and playing Boston. But then we'll go to the 9 and 10 spot, and this has got to be probably like, I don't even know what the line's going to be for the game, but just take the over. Like, this is two high offensive teams that just do not play defense. Charlotte's been kind of playing a bit of defense, you know, down the stretch. They got Montrezl Harrell, a beast down there in the paint. But what do you guys think in this Atlanta-Charlotte matchup? I don't know who I asked first last time, so whoever I didn't ask first.
You asked C last time.
So what do you think, Chris? Atlanta-Charlotte. And this will be in ATL, so... You know, maybe. You know what? Here's the thing too.
Quavo's going to be sidelined.
We Magic City in ATL. You got Tiana Trump and Brittany Renner hanging out watching the games. They'll probably be sidelined. They're going to get the boys out distracted at the strip club the night before. Maybe they take advantage of that.
You know what? That's tough.
It's tough,
man.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
It's tough, and I know that
because the team's got the exact same record. They could go basically either or.
They spray from 3.
They spray from 3. Yeah. You know what? I'm going the Hornets.
Hey, I knew you were going to take Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
I'm taking Charlotte just because I want to see something. You know what? I'm confident in Charlotte. I'm so confident that if you would like to make a wager against it, Tobias or C, I will win some of your money back.
I will lob it up to C to make the wager because I believe Seabash had the Atlanta Hawks fairly high in our pre-season rankings. So Seabash, I'll let you answer his proposal for this match, and give us your breakdown on this 9 versus 10 matchup in the play-in tournament.
I was just gonna come in here and talk about how this matchup is as interesting as Chris explained it, and I'm just glad that I didn't ask for the bet because I will gladly take that.
Okay.
And I will be going with the Hawks to win the series. I of course owe you 10 from that fucked up bet that the Raptors made it to the 5th seed, but we'll go double or nothing on that, where I'm picking the Hawks to win that 1-game matchup.
Okay.
Do you take that double or nothing?
I'm going with my toothbrush, 6-foot-tall player to make all the threes.
It's not even. Listen, he doesn't remind me of a toothbrush. He reminds me of like a lollipop that's been stuck in your couch probably for 2 months, and it's got some dust bunny fur on it.
You gotta do better cleaning if that lollipop was stuck in your couch for 2 months.
Yeah.
Come on.
Definitely not doing the old couch search for change in the remote in that couch. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that bet, Chris. I'll put double or nothing with our old bet from Raptors, $10. I got the Hawks winning it.
All right, so winner gets 20, a nice 20 piece.
So no, if you win, you get 20. If I win, I don't have to pay you.
Okay. You
should have just took the 20. Seabash. Nice guy.
Yeah,
honest guy.
Listen, bro, this is my guy.
He's
I'm
an
not
honest
trying
guy.
to finesse
You know
him.
what? That's the difference between you two, Tobias. He's honest.
Here I came in. I could have hid the bets. I could have been like, I don't know you anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's funny, yeah. Because 10 minutes ago, I was praying you would not remember that bet with the Cavs.
Well, he might have a beard like Abraham Lincoln, but he's not always honest, Abe. But me moving on to the 9 versus 10 match. I know that was a stretch. I don't know if anyone knows there.
C has long since shed his nickname of the Cobra, and he's no longer the Cobra.
That was wait. Thank you. That was a trash ass thing we came up with.
That was a sick name.
Why? How was I the Cobra? I'm not a snake.
I can't remember. I don't even know how it originated. I can't remember where it came from.
At least you would have called me the Mamba. I would have been,
Never.
Hey, that's nice,
Never.
Black Mamba. Wow.
9 versus 10, Atlanta versus Charlotte. Like I said, it's gonna be a high-scoring, low defense game. Man, it's tough. I think I might go back to experience. I think I might go to a team that's been there before, a coach that has a bit more experience. Who was Nate McMillan with before? Was it Indiana? Yeah. So really not doing anything in the playoffs, but had experience in the playoffs. Borrego, I believe his name in Charlotte. They're just a young team, and I think that them getting into the play-in is a success story for sure. Now, who knows? They could end up being like the Memphis Grizzlies of last year, right? Didn't the Grizzlies beat Golden State? So it could happen for sure, but I'm going to go with the experienced Atlanta team to beat the Charlotte Hornets. So, once again, Steve Ash and I on the same page. We're rocking with the ATL. I just think PJ Washington's going to be too distracted, in the Magic City with those wings, of course. That's all I'm talking about, the wings. But yeah, so we have Atlanta going to the next round of the play-in. Brooklyn, all of us agree that Brooklyn take that 7th seed to play Boston. Now we get the Cleveland versus Atlanta matchup, and this would, of course, be in Cleveland. Not a lot of strip clubs in Cleveland. See Ash, Atlanta versus Cleveland. What are you thinking here?
This one's tough too, man, because I just, again, going back to this one game situation, it's not a regular season. It's not a situation where these guys can go all out and do what they have to. It's just one game. It's tough. I can see it going either way, but for the sake of just entertainment, pure entertainment, I'm going with the Hawks. I think they might have it in them to stomp the Cavs in this situation. Maybe Jared Allen is back, and that defensive duo, Jared Allen and Mobley, would kind of give him some pushback, but I'm just, in this situation, I'm not putting any bets on this. I could definitely be wrong in this situation. I'm going for the Hawks just for the sake of the matchups in the playoffs.
Is John Collins still injured?
Is he?
I just looked at his previous games, and he has not played a game. I'm going back to March 20th, and I don't
What's
see
the return time on our bet, Chris? What's up, bro?
Because with Charlotte, with the ATL and Charlotte match, I don't have a problem with the bigs because, again, I think the offense is going to be so high. But in that Cleveland matchup, I'd be a little worried. Potentially with Jared Allen coming back, you've got Evan Mobley there. Darius Garland's been doing his thing. But in terms of bigs, if you just have Clint Capella, I guess you got a Kungwu. But John Collins is a big piece of that Atlanta Hawks squad. So that's a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm just going to, while we're talking about this, I'm going to look up and see if we have a turn time for him.
Yeah, Chris, how do you feel about the matchup? Just with what Tobias has said with the injuries and looking at what the Cavs are dealing with, maybe with Jared Allen coming back.
I'm a firm believer. Faith. I believe that with Jared, I think Jared Allen coming back will be a big thing because if they are going up against looking at this.
Well, I guess you picked the Hornets.
I picked the Hornets.
I was just thinking in general, yeah. So the Hornets versus the Cavs.
I'm doing the Hornets versus the Cavs. I feel like it's a little I feel like I need to worry a little less than you, but it would. Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna continue. Even with Jared Allen back, they're gonna keep skidding. If they lose that, they're gonna skid. They're gonna skid, and the Hornets are. I'm riding. All right, ride or die.
Comparing it back to what Tobias said with the Grizzlies last year, they won their first game in the play-in, and then they went ahead and knocked the 8th seed out of the play-in. I can see it. I like that.
Yeah, they're gonna keep going. They're trudging ahead.
So it sounds like John Collins is out for the playoffs. He's got both a finger and a foot issue.
Two? Damn.
Yeah. So with that being said, in my Cleveland versus Atlanta matchup, I'm going to take Cleveland. I just think especially if Jared Allen returns, which is he's probable to come back for that game on Friday. I just think that trio of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, I think it'll be too much. Again, at the end of the day, like there's certain players in the league, KD, Kyrie, LeBron, Steph, and Trae Young's going to work his way into that. Luka, Ja. Trae Young's going to work his way into that conversation if he's not already. As a player that can take over a game. It doesn't matter what the rest of the guys around him are doing. He can drop a 50 piece and take over the game. So sure, there's definitely a possibility that happens. But I'm looking at the defense. I'm looking at those bigs. Rolling out 3 7-footers. How does Atlanta, attack that? How do they, combat that? So, like, would they just destroy in the paint? Like, I don't know. So, Herter's been very inconsistent. I like Bogdanovich, but he's also been a little shaky as of late. So I'm just going to ride with Cleveland. I'm going to take them, and I'm going to see JB Bickerstaff get his team an 8th seed in the playoffs. Okay, so that was our play-in predictions. Again, I think for the most part we're all in agreement. Chris, I believe you had Charlotte taking that 8th seed. Siavash and I both had Atlanta taking that 8th seed. Brooklyn, we all agreed in the 7th spot. Clippers, Siavash and I agreed in the 7th spot. You had Minnesota, but we had Minnesota in that 8th spot. So we'll see how it works out. We might be totally wrong. Clippers might not even make any spot, right? So, Atlanta with their, maybe they get wrapped up in Magic City with, the Wings, and maybe Brittany Renner and Tiana Trump are hanging out with Trae Young. But with that being said, let's wrap up this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Because I'm not paying you, bro.
Wow, Scott, I'm not paying you. You're paying me, dog. You're paying me. You're running me those pockets. I know where you live.